Let's talk about it. Adam and Eve, right? That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the fall, talk about the plan of redemption. Now, the fall of man is recorded in Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. Now, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High Power had made. And he said to the woman, Yea, have the Most High said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High have said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And this is a really good place for just children, the family, the whole family. Everyone needs to hear this, because this has to do with all mankind to this very day. And that same serpent that was in the garden way back then is still actively sowing his venom and his deceit. And he's very subtle how he does it. Now, if someone that was coming out to destroy you, right, and they just said, look, they had a knife or some type of weapon, a gun or a bat, and they just coming at you, getting ready to do, you would be able to tell that that person's not for my good. That person wants to destroy me. But if someone came to you smiling, bearing gifts, and they're sympathizing with you, I need us to get this. They're appealing to your senses, right? They're appealing to you. And they're offering unto you what? A remedy to help make your life better, to give you, to give you the things that you are desiring or trying to accomplish, right? Your plans. You would, to one like that, you might not notice at first. Well, wait a minute. This person's not doing me any harm. They don't mean for my destruction. They don't. I don't see. I don't see a blunt instrument in their hand, right? So this couldn't be for my detriment. So this is how the enemy begins to win his way in to mankind, and he's done this. Listen to this, throughout society, family. He's done this throughout society. He continually does this. Okay. So he studies the society, studies the people very, very closely, watches them. Look at this. And then he gets them to reason. He gets them to question their very own. He gets them to question themselves and question what was for their turn or for their benefit. He gets them to question that as if, listen to this, as if, the Most High, as if the Most High didn't know what was best for them. This is what the woman said. The woman said, right? But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High have said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4, and the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. Right? This is the same serpent, which was what? Was more subtle than any beast of the field. So think of that. All of the creation was already created. The Most High brought all the creation of the field and set them before Adam, and whatever Adam called them, that is what their name was, right? That's power. The Most High gave dominion to Adam. So look at this. In verses 4, and the serpent responded to the woman, Ye shall not surely die. So the woman, they didn't immediately die, right? They just die immediately, but they begin, something within them begin to tarnish. He's sowing his poison. So as we get into this study, we're going to go into, dear family, we're going to go into the Josephus, book 1, chapters 1 through 3. We're going to go into, of course, our 66 books. We're going to go into uh, some of my pastoral books, and where it talks about the fall of man and the Most High's plan for salvation. We're going to go also into, that's right, the book of some of the extra biblical records of Adam and Eve, right? And through this, we'll get a panoramic view, Father willing, a panoramic view of all parties in the story of Adam and Eve, the fall of man. And but not just focusing on the fall of man, because why? If one doesn't know the history, okay, then they're bound to repeat the same thing, the same mistake over and over and over again. So it tells us here in verses 5, for the Most High, this is the serpent speaking, for the Most High doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So in this, we're going to learn and talk about and discuss about this tree of knowledge of good and evil. We're also going to talk about what the Most High expects from mankind, right? So it tells us here in verses 6, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So Satan knows that there's things in society what people desire to be. People desire to be successful, right? People desire to be appreciated, if you will. People desire to be famous. People desire to be rich, right? People desire to be wise, beautiful, strong, all these different things, right? So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Verses 7, and the eyes of them both, get this, the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. See, that's the issue right now that we have. You and I, when we live, the time that we're living, the things that we view things, once we become of age, and how do you say this? Once you become morally aware, so you know what morals is, right? Moral means right and wrong. Once you know what is right and wrong, and every last one of us, that was instilled in us. Once you become morally aware of what's right and wrong, now you begin to grow in knowledge, because in this society, or in the world that we live in, there are things, there's choices that one must make. Mankind, no matter how nice someone is, right? No matter how kind someone appears to be, the only way one is right is by following what the Most High, who is right, what he's instilled for us to do. And what we find out is that mankind, the creation, went wrong. They did it wrong. So that's the part that's disheartening. That's the part that's sad. And people can grow up from a little baby. Doesn't matter. There's some things, dear family, that the Most High says, listen, when you live outside of God's will, there's certain things that will characterize a person. The Bible calls them sinners, calls it the ungodly. What else? Wicked, unrighteous. So when you live outside of God's commandment, worldly, did I say it right? Worldly. So all these things, so if we're taking notes, and let me write that down. Let's write this down right here. Let's write this down. Where's the pen at? So if you live outside of God's will, it's worldly, unrighteous, how do you say? Ungodly, sinners, and finally, wicked. Get that. Worldly, unrighteous, ungodly, sinners, and I didn't spell wicked right. I put W-I-K. I mean, I just now seen that. W-I-C-K-E-D, wicked. That's what the Bible says. Now look at that. Imagine telling your nicest friend. Imagine, you're looking at your baby. Do you want your baby to grow up to be like that? Do you want your child to grow? So in other words, why am I stating this? Because outside of, and I have to lay this down, worldly, unrighteous, ungodly, sinners, and wicked. The Most High told mankind one thing, and we're about to go into it now. So we first need to establish this. If you're not doing this, this is what you will end up being. It doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how godly that you seem to be or that we seem to be. We must always strive to keep that at the forefront. I'm not saying this to point this out, to belittle anyone, to minimize anyone's great strides that they have done. We must always come back to the reality of that. Listen, we live in a fallen world, and the Most High has furnished unto us that which we need. These are the reference points that we're going to go into to get a panoramic view of this study series. This is important. And this will give us an awareness of the world that we live in. So that way we're not just walking blindly, but we see that, wait a minute, we live in a fallen world. Man is fallen. So no matter if it's someone at work, no matter if it's someone in the congregation, listen, all of us must be taking heed to ourselves, right? So it tells us here in verses 7, right? So she gave to her husband with her, and he did eat, and the eyes of them both were open. Look at that. So now their eyes is their comprehension. That means that they know what they're doing now. I need us to get that. And they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves to cover, together, and made themselves aprons to cover themselves. Right now, and from the fall of man, right? Genesis 3, Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, we see that Adam and Eve, they transgress the Most High's commandment, thus bringing about their falling from their elevated relationship with the Most High to an estrangement from the Most High and an alienation. So when you go to verses 8, that's what we see. We see them doing what? They were doing something that was strange there. Look at that. Verse 8 said, and they heard the voice of the Most High Power walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Most High Power amongst the trees of the garden. See, just like we do in this present, people, the word of the Most High comes forth, or those who are living this righteous life, living their life as an example. We try to go from that. We try to get away from that. Now, others did that. Now, I'm going to show you in this study here shortly that there was someone who was called the Wicked One. And not only that, but he began to do this in his way of living. His way of living took on a, began to increase. I mean, not just gradually, but it just catapulted to where now the creation was no longer looking like, those who the Most High had given a charge and given dominion to, they no longer begin to rule in a correct stance, because they were, if you will, compromised. And now, instead of accepting the accountability and coming to the Most High, that they had compromised, that they had failed, right? All from the very beginning, this evil that the enemy sowed in them, he meaning the man began to make excuses. We see that this relationship with the Most High had become an estranged. They were estranged from the Most High, and an alienation from the privileges of this lost fellowship. You can read in Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 18. All right. Genesis 3, 16 through 24. The basis of their fellowship with the Most High. Now get this. This is for all of us. The basis of our fellowship with the Most High was obedience. So we see that the basis of their fellowship with the Most High was obedience, the Most High strictness. So some people would say, just like having a man in the house, right? A man growing up, or a man and his wife in the house growing up. Now we live in a society where men were purposely moved out of the house. Understand that. Overstand that. Understand that. Get that. We're removed out of the house so that way children would be reared up and that the society would have access to that family and that family would be broken down. So the man is supposed to be what? He is he's the bronze and the muscle. He's also the visionary. He's also the priest of his house. He's the one that would protect, the protector and provider of his house. So if the protector and the provider of his house has now been removed and that there's a family without a protector or provider, who's to protect this family? I mean, think about this for a second, family. See? So if it's being broken down like that, look what ends up happening. So because the provider and protector is going to do what? He's going to make sure that the children are in line, that they're not running amok in the house or in that family, right? He's going to be laying out, he's going to be checking for balances, dotting I's and crossing T's, making sure that the one who gave them those children is being honored and revered. Con? That's what's supposed to be done. So every Sabbath, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Look at this now. Also, now that strictness of that father, now we're speaking of the Most High Father, the strictness of the father, his concern, all right? So the basis of their fellowship with the Heavenly Father was obedience. The Most High strictness concerning obedience was not a result of egotism. So a father, he doesn't come in and chasten his children or say, look at this house. If the house is messed up, look, what's going on in this house? The garbage ain't taken out or whatever the case is, right? Things ain't like they're supposed to be. He's not doing that out of egotism. Like, look, I'm the head of the family. No, but rather, speaking of the Most High, he did it, but rather because of his concerns that they not be ensnared into opening themselves to that which was destructive. This is the basis for all of the Most High's demands for obedience. The Most High's demands is, his demands is by virtue of being man's creator. So the Most High is our creator. Look at this. So he's concerned with man's virtue, by virtue of being man's creator. He's well aware of the destructive consequences of misuse of man's faculties. So if man is just sitting there in the bed, lazy, not taking the garbage out, not getting up to work, not taking care of his chores, his duties, he's going to do what? Fall into a deprivative state of mind. Are you getting this today? Now, this was all sown from the very beginning when the enemy came in. We're going to get the story here. When the enemy came in and began to entice the woman. And do you know at the very end of it, before Adam and Eve passed over, they said, go gather all of your brethren and bring them before us so we can tell them what befell us in the earlier time when the devil deceived us. So the whole idea of sin revolves around distortion of that which the Most High has given man. Let me say it again. The whole idea of sin is revolved around distorting of that which the Most High gave to man. For example, Satan's argument to Adam and Eve was that by disobedience, their awareness, right, would be heightened. Verses 5, this is it. For the Most High doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So look how subtle that was. That was very dangerous. He didn't come yielding a sword, putting the sword to her neck. He didn't force anyone to eat it, right? He came to her with a what? And this is how businesses, they say in business, you have to find a problem and then provide a solution. So they knew nothing about this at all before he stepped into the scene to come sow his poison into them. That they were, in other words, he convinced them or tried to make them aware that they were missing something, and through being intuitive, through curiosity, lured her in and played off of her ignorance. See, like he does to the unsuspected, okay, to those unsuspected to this very day. For example, Satan's argument to Adam and Eve was that by disobedience, their awareness would be heightened. Right here, verses 5, what you see right here before you, right? And their status elevated. They would be what? And ye shall be as gods. That's what he said, knowing good and evil. Because prior to this, dear family, prior to this, before them knowing good and evil, they were in an innocent state of mind. They were pure. And that's the part that I said is disheartening. When I say disheartening, that's the part it's sad. We live in, like, your babies will grow up. If you've been a parent and seen your children grow up, if you just be honest and look at yourself and evaluate yourself, you remember, if you can think back to the time when you were pure and innocent, just playing, then there's different phases or seasons, if you will, transitions as you are growing or going through this experience, not just experience, but going through life. You are a soul. We're going to talk about how man was created. The Most High made man. The Most High made man, put a spirit in him, gave you a soul, meaning your personality or this, who you are. Then he gave you a body to be able to experience the here and now in this present world. See? So in that, dear family, our body, our whole being is to be made and to be used for holiness. But the devil would use it for what? Having pleasure, having a good time, and having totally perverting. Again, the devil would do what? He would distort that which the Most High had gave to man. So he would cause us to use it in a disruptive way. Now, so the devil, when he that argument, when him telling Adam and Eve by their disobedience, but he didn't tell them they were disobedient. He just said, listen, you should not die. Did the Most High say you should die? Ain't that what he said? Look. He said, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall surely not die, for the Most High knoweth in the day that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And look what else he said in verses 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Most High power had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, have God said, has the master, has the creator said, ye should not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but that but negates the every. See, now let's move on, because we got some more to cover here. So now we see here that the devil convinced them by them being disobedient, their awareness would be heightened and their status elevated. Genesis 3 and 5. He placed an intellectual doubt as to the instructions and motives of the Most High. Genesis 3, verses 1. See, as you see in verses 1, right? in Genesis 3 and 5. This misuse of their God-given faculties for selfish purposes constituted sin. Say it again. The misuse of their God-given faculties for selfish purposes constituted sin and is the basis of all sin. For example, selfishness and jealousy are misuses of the instinct for self-preservation. Did you hear that? So when one is jealous, right, or one is selfish, one will try to preserve themselves. They'll do whatever they got to do in order not to justify whatever their decision is, even if it's wrong. Covetousness and thievery are misuses of the instinct for acquisition. Acquisition is the getting of things. If I just have enough. Gluttony is a misuse of the food-seeking instinct. Immorality and sexual promiscuity are misuses of the instinct for reproduction. Despotism, and to be a despot is to make someone forcefully do something, okay? Despotism. Cruelty, tyranny, and injustice are misuses of the instinct of governing. So again, without the right relationship of the Most High being first in our life, everyone would just divert back to being, put it on the screen again, worldly, unrighteous, wicked, ungodly, and sinners. See? So, as can be seen, sin is a misuse of man's powers. It is disobedient use of the gifts of the Most High have given to each and every one of us. That's what it is. See? So sin is the misuse of the power that the Most High has given to each and every one of us.